Are you sure you know the full story behind modern diseases? Most people believe that diabetes is a product of our time, born from fast food and a sedentary lifestyle. But that is a massive misconception. Ancient healers were battling this condition over 1,000 years ago. And the most shocking part, they knew how to treat it. No complex machinery, no laboratories, and no chemical pills. Today, we're talking about a man whose very name made diseases tremble. The legendary Avicenna. We are about to uncover secrets that have been hidden in ancient manuscripts for centuries. You'll discover exactly how high blood sugar was managed in the 11th century. And believe me, these methods might completely change your perspective on medicine. Are you ready to learn the truth that's been hidden for so long? Let us know in the comments right now. Do you believe in the power of ancient traditional medicine? Drop a comment and let's begin our investigation. To understand the sheer scale of Avicenna's genius, we have to travel back in time. Imagine the East 1,000 years ago, the 11th century. Medicine back then was a blend of philosophy, religion, and raw observation. Into this world stepped Ibn Sina, known in the West as Avicenna. He authored the famous Canon of Medicine, a masterpiece that served as the primary textbook for doctors for over 500 years. Avicenna didn't just systematize the knowledge of the Greeks, Romans, and Indians. He put everything to the test in his own practice. Patients with all kinds of ailments sought help at his clinic. One of the most mysterious conditions was a strange form of wasting away. People were perpetually thirsty. They lost weight rapidly, despite having a ravenous appetite. Avicenna was the first to provide a clear clinical description of this state. He realized the problem was rooted deep within the body. Ancient healers didn't have the word insulin, but they understood perfectly that the body was losing its ability to process nourishment. So, let's break down, step by step, exactly how this brilliant physician identified and fought this treacherous disease. Let's start with a truly mind-blowing fact. How did doctors diagnose patients 1,000 years ago? They didn't have blood glucose monitors or finger prick tests, but Avicenna had his own method, and it's a story worth telling. Physicians back then had to be incredibly observant. The first step was the patient interview, focusing on one key symptom, unquenchable thirst. Avicenna described it vividly. A person could drink pitcher after pitcher of water, but the thirst would never go away. It was as if the liquid just flowed straight through the body. The second sign was the scent. Ancient doctors would literally sniff their patients. In severe cases of diabetes, a person's breath smelled like rotting apples. Today, we recognize this as the smell of acetone. And finally, there was the most extreme diagnostic tool, the taste test. Yes, you heard that right. Ancient healers actually had to taste the patient's urine. If it was sweet like honey, the diagnosis was certain. Avicenna even called the disease honey urine. Sometimes healers would pour the liquid on the ground near an anthill. If the ants swarmed to the spot, they knew it was loaded with sugar. It's amazing how this level of pure observation allowed them to make accurate diagnoses without any modern technology at all. Once a diagnosis was set, Avicenna immediately looked for the cause. This brings us to the ancient theory of humors. At the time, Physicians believed the body was governed by 4 vital fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Health meant these fluids were in perfect harmony. Disease was simply a state of imbalance. Avicenna classified diabetes as a hot and dry condition. He believed the body was being consumed by an excess of unhealthy heat, a heat that literally scorched the internal organs. Imagine a bonfire parching the earth. That is exactly how the disease withered a patient's body from the inside out. Avicenna noted that the kidneys and liver suffered most. He wrote that the kidneys lost their retentive power, meaning they could no longer filter water or hold on to vital nutrients. Meanwhile, the liver produced an excess of hot blood. This internal fire drove a constant, desperate need for cooling, which is why patients drank incessantly but could never quench their thirst. Understanding this hot nature of the disease was the key to its cure. Avicenna's entire strategy was built on one principle: cool the body and restore its moisture. This central idea became the common thread running through every one of his medical prescriptions. Interestingly, Avicenna didn't see diabetes as a purely physical condition. He made a brilliant connection that science wouldn't confirm for centuries. He linked the onset of the disease directly to intense stress. In his medical texts, he noted that honey urine often appeared following a major life shock, like the loss of a loved one or a sudden financial collapse. Avicenna believed that deep grief and fear drain a person's vital energy, damaging the liver and upsetting the body's internal balance. His intuition was incredibly accurate. Today, every endocrinologist knows that stress spikes blood sugar because cortisol blocks the effectiveness of insulin. Avicenna grasped this complex mechanism simply by observing his patients. Because of this, he believed healing had to start with the soul. Avicenna strictly forbade his patients from dwelling in anger or despair. Instead, he prescribed pleasant conversation and the soothing sounds of soft music. He advised them to walk in shaded gardens and listen to the ripple of running water to cool the spirit and calm frayed nerves. Only after their emotional balance was restored would he move on to physical treatments. Now let's talk about the most powerful tool in an ancient healer's arsenal: food, specifically a strict diet. Avicenna was firm on one rule: all healing begins with what you eat. He believed that if a patient wasn't willing to change their diet, no amount of herbal medicine could help them. Sounds quite modern, doesn't it? To treat diabetes, Ibn Sina developed a specialized menu designed to cool the body. Since diabetes was considered a hot illness at the time, the food had to provide cooling and hydration. His primary prescription: barley water. But this wasn't just a simple drink. It was a remedy. The barley was slow cooked until the water became thick and silky. This liquid would coat the stomach, reducing inflammation and soothing that internal heat. Patients were required to drink this decoction every single day. Modern science backs this up perfectly. Barley has a low glycemic index. It's digested slowly, preventing sharp spikes in blood sugar. Without even knowing the technical terms, Avicenna had chosen the perfect superfood for managing diabetes. It was the vital first step toward recovery, a step that required incredible discipline. But what exactly was strictly forbidden for the patient? Avicenna's list of prohibited foods was shockingly rigorous. He understood perfectly well that sugar was lethal for these patients, so honey was strictly off-limits. Dates, sweet grapes, and figs were banned. In fact, sweets of any kind were under an absolute prohibition. But he didn't stop there. Avicenna excluded any food thought to generate excess heat in the body. Fatty meats, such as lamb or pork, were completely ruled out. Pungent spices were also removed from the patient's table. Garlic, onions, and peppers were all cut from the diet. The physician believed these foods fanned the internal flames and only intensified the patient's thirst. Wine was also strictly forbidden. Ancient doctors believed alcohol took a heavy toll on the liver, an organ already pushed to its limit by diabetes. If a patient refused to follow these rules, Avicenna would simply refuse to treat them. He wrote that a lack of dietary restraint was a certain path to death for those suffering from honey urine. Patients were forced to completely overhaul their eating habits. It serves as a timeless reminder that there is no magic pill. Even 1,000 years ago, good health required discipline, hard work, and strict self-control. Instead of forbidden foods, Avicenna introduced his own system of medicinal cooking. He prescribed a diet rich in fresh vegetables, with a special emphasis on cucumbers, zucchini, and spinach. Ancient healers believed these plants had a cooling effect. Because they are so hydrating, they naturally refresh the body from within. Sour foods were also highly valued. Avicenna was convinced that sour flavors could extinguish internal fire and help tone the organs. Because of this, patients were often given cultured milk, whey, and fresh cottage cheese. When it came to meat, only light proteins were permitted, such as boiled fish or young poultry like chicken or pheasant. The method of preparation was key. Food had to be boiled, never fried. It was believed that frying added unnecessary heat to the body. To make digestion even easier, a splash of vinegar or tart pomegranate juice was often added to the broth. This ensured the body received vital nutrients without overheating. Finally, meals were served in small, frequent portions. This fractional approach to eating is remarkably similar to the dietary patterns modern nutritionists recommend for managing diabetes today. One of the greatest challenges of this disease was the unquenchable thirst. Avicenna's patients would often drink up to 10 liters of water a day, yet their mouths remained bone dry. Plain water simply couldn't provide relief. What's more, the physician noticed a troubling paradox. The more water a patient drank, the harder their kidneys worked, eventually leaving the body completely exhausted. To address this, Avicenna devised a clever strategy. He prohibited drinking massive amounts of plain cold water. Instead, he introduced special infusions designed to trick the sensation of thirst and help the body retain moisture. His primary remedy was water infused with rose petals. Rose water acted as a mild astringent, cooling the stomach and soothing a parched throat. He also recommended adding a splash of tart apple or lemon juice. This acidity stimulated saliva production, keeping the mouth from drying out. Patients were instructed to take tiny sips, holding the liquid in their mouths for several seconds before swallowing. This simple but brilliant technique significantly reduced the total volume of fluid consumed. By doing so, the ancient healer eased the burden on the kidneys, saving them from total collapse. Diet, however, was only one part of the cure. Avicenna understood that the body required movement, but his approach to exercise was very specific. For those suffering from diabetes, overexertion was forbidden. Intense physical activity could easily drain what little energy an exhausted person had left. Instead, he prescribed gentle, regular movement. The ideal time for exercise was early morning, before the heat of the day set in, and while the air was still crisp and cool. Patients were encouraged to take moderate walks, though horseback riding at a slow, steady pace was considered even better. Avicenna believed the gentle, rhythmic motion of the saddle aided digestion and kept the blood flowing correctly. The primary indicator of the right intensity was sweat. Exercise had to stop the moment the first beads of perspiration appeared on the forehead. Heavy sweating was considered extremely dangerous. Since the body was already losing too much fluid through urine, losing even more through sweat was seen as a path to total collapse. There were no grueling workouts, only smooth, flowing movements. Modern science now confirms that light aerobic activity increases insulin sensitivity, a fact that Avicenna seemed to understand intuitively over 1,000 years ago. Now let's move on to the most fascinating part, the ancient medicine chest of Avicenna. Which herbs did he rely on to lower blood sugar? The answer might surprise you. One of the primary plants prescribed by Ibn Sina is currently being extensively studied by modern science. It is fenugreek. In the East, it is better known as shambhala or helba. Avicenna devoted many pages to this plant in his writings. He would prescribe a decoction made from fenugreek seeds, and the results were remarkable. Patients felt better, and that persistent, nagging thirst began to fade. So what's the secret? Today, scientists have proven that fenugreek seeds are packed with unique fibers that slow down the absorption of carbohydrates in the digestive tract. Furthermore, fenugreek contains specific amino acids that stimulate the pancreas to produce more insulin. It's incredible to think that over 1,000 years ago, healers were already using a natural insulin booster. Avicenna recommended grinding the seeds into a fine powder, which was then mixed with water or baked into a medicinal flatbread. It was a potent and bitter remedy, but patients took it faithfully because it truly restored their vitality and extended their lives. Fenugreek wasn't the only remedy in Avicenna's arsenal. Another powerful tool he relied on was the lupin bean. While the plant is known for its beautiful flowers, its seeds are incredibly bitter, and it was this very bitterness that intrigued the ancient physician. In traditional medicine, bitter flavors were believed to be the perfect antidote for thick and sweet fluids within the body. To prepare the beans, they were soaked in water for several days to leach out toxins, then boiled. Avicenna observed that lupin acted as a natural diuretic and cleansed the body of internal congestion. Today, modern science confirms his ancient wisdom. 21st century research has identified a protein in lupin seeds called gamma-congluten. This protein works remarkably like insulin, helping cells absorb glucose from the bloodstream and naturally lowering blood sugar levels. Ibn Sina didn't need modern chemistry to see that it worked. His years of experience proved its effectiveness. He often combined ground lupin with barley flour to bake a special medicinal bread. This slightly bitter loaf wasn't just a meal. For his patients, it served as a potent medicine to restore their health. Pomegranate was the remedy of choice for those suffering from intense heat in the stomach. The great physician Avicenna considered the pomegranate tree a true godsend for diabetics. Every part of the plant was put to use: the seeds, the juice, the peel, and even the blossoms. Sour pomegranate juice was used to quench a patient's burning thirst, while also toning the digestive tract and revitalizing the blood. But perhaps most fascinating was the use of the peels. They were dried in the shade and ground into a fine powder, which was then given to patients to help manage excessive urination. Because pomegranate peel is loaded with tannins, it acts as a powerful astringent. These substances effectively tone the tissues, allowing the kidneys to function more calmly. Furthermore, sour pomegranates are rich in antioxidants. This is crucial for those with high blood sugar, as the condition can rapidly damage blood vessels. Pomegranate juice served as a shield, protecting the vascular system from such harm. Avicenna often recommended simmering pomegranate juice until it became a thick, sugar-free syrup. Patients would take a spoonful of this tart concentrate before every meal. This simple step prepared the stomach for digestion and helped prevent the disease from progressing further. In the most severe cases, as the disease took hold, Avicenna turned to more exotic remedies. Chief among them was camphor. In the ancient world, camphor was extracted from the wood of rare trees and was truly worth its weight in gold. Known for its pungent aroma and intense cooling sensation, Ibn Sina classified it as a medicine of the highest degree of cold. When a patient was literally burning up with internal heat, camphor became their final hope. The physician was careful never to administer it internally in large doses, as that could be dangerous. Instead, it was applied topically through specialized ointments and compresses. These were applied over the liver and the lower back, directly above the kidneys. Avicenna believed that camphore's icy essence would penetrate the skin, reaching the inflamed organs to quench the internal fire. The patient was also encouraged to simply inhale the scent of camphor. It was believed that the sharp bracing aroma could soothe the mind, easing anxiety and helping the sufferer fall asleep. This was vital, as the illness often made rest impossible due to constant exhausting trips to the bathroom. Avicenna did everything in his power to ensure his patients could finally find a moment of peace and a proper night's rest. When it comes to sleep, the specific daily routine prescribed for diabetics in antiquity deserves special mention. Avicenna placed immense importance on rest, believing that during sleep the body effectively digests the illness. In his view, if a patient's sleep is poor, any further treatment is futile. But how can one rest when plagued by the thirst typical of diabetes? The physician's solution was a cool environment. The bed had to be kept far from stoves or fireplaces, often surrounded by basins of cold water. Water lilies or violets were added to the basins so that their cool vapors would humidify the air, making breathing effortless. Daytime napping on a full stomach was strictly forbidden. Ibn Sina believed that sleeping immediately after a heavy meal produced foul humors and intensified internal heat. Instead, rest was reserved for the night. Before retiring, patients received a gentle massage with cooling oils of rose or violet to soothe the nervous system. If sleep still remained elusive, a mild decoction of lettuce seeds was administered, an ancient sedative used to gently relax the body. Proper rest provided the body with the strength to manage high blood sugar the following day. In this way, a 24-hour defense against the disease was meticulously maintained. A key part of the treatment focused on external detoxification. You might be surprised to learn that Avicenna relied heavily on the therapeutic power of the bath, specifically the traditional Eastern hammam. However, for those with diabetes, the rules were strictly modified. Entering a hot steam room was strictly forbidden, as the intense heat could cause a sudden downturn in their condition. Instead, patients were guided only to the tepid, moderately warm chambers. The goal wasn't to induce heavy sweating, but to gently warm the skin and open the pores. Avicenna believed that through these pores, foul vapors and harmful substances could finally be released from the body. While at the bath, the patient received a careful massage. Practitioners used exfoliating mitts, but with a gentle touch to avoid damaging the patient's fragile, dry skin. Since diabetes often impairs circulation, especially in the legs, this massage helped stimulate blood flow and restore sensation to the limbs. After this warm treatment, the body was generously coated with moisturizing oils, such as sesame or almond oil. This was crucial to prevent the severe skin dryness that so often plagues diabetic patients. For Avicenna, the hammam was far more than just hygiene. It was a sophisticated form of physical therapy designed to keep the vascular system healthy and functional. One of the most feared complications of high blood sugar has always been its impact on the feet. Today we call it diabetic foot syndrome. But even 1,000 years ago, people struggled with ulcers and wounds that simply wouldn't heal. Back then, a single scratch could quickly spiral into gangrene. The legendary physician Avicenna encountered this constantly, and he developed his own methods for saving limbs. His first rule was strict: never walk barefoot. Feet had to be protected at all costs. If an ulcer did appear, it required immediate care. Avicenna avoided warming ointments, which could worsen the inflammation. Instead, he cleansed the wounds with a mixture of rose water and vinegar, a powerful natural antiseptic. Then he applied a specialized paste made of myrrh and aloe vera. While aloe was prized for its healing properties, myrrh acted as an ancient antibiotic, stopping the decay of the flesh. The wound was then wrapped in clean linen, with the bandages changed twice a day. Ibn Sina warned his fellow healers, "If a wound turns black, the tissue has died." In those dire cases, surgery was the only way to save a life. But thanks to his unique remedies, many patients were spared from amputation and were able to keep their legs. It's important to understand that Avicenna wasn't a magician. He was a scientist. In his famous Canon of Medicine, he wrote quite frankly that curing severe advanced diabetes was almost impossible. If a patient sought help only when they were down to skin and bones, medicine was powerless. The ancient physician was honest about his limitations. However, when the disease was caught early, the results were remarkable. A strict diet, bitter herbal infusions, and a disciplined daily routine worked wonders. Patients returned to their normal lives. That constant, unquenchable thirst would disappear. They began to regain healthy weight, and their urine was no longer sweet. Essentially, Avicenna was achieving lasting remission. He cornered the disease and forced it into silence. But on one condition: the patient had to stick to the rules for the rest of their life. As soon as they slipped up, returning to wine or sweet dates, the disease would strike back with a vengeance. This golden rule of endocrinology was established 1,000 years ago. Diabetes isn't just a diagnosis, it's a way of life. And those who embrace that are the ones who truly prevail. Let's compare the methods of an ancient genius with those of modern medicine. You'll be amazed by just how much they have in common. Today, doctors advise us to manage our weight and track our carb intake. 1,000 years ago, Avicenna was saying the exact same thing. Cut out sweets and stick to light, clean foods. Modern physicians prescribe metformin, a drug derived from plant sources. In his time, Avicenna used fenugreek and lupin, natural remedies that work on a very similar principle. While modern endocrinologists stress the importance of regular exercise, Ibn Sina was prescribing horseback riding and daily walks. And while we now use therapy to help patients manage stress, Avicenna used the power of soothing music and uplifting conversation. It's incredible, isn't it? Technology has certainly evolved. We now have purified insulin, advanced delivery systems, and precision monitors. But the core foundation of healing remains exactly the same. Ancient healers didn't have microscopes, but they possessed profound wisdom. They didn't just treat a single symptom, they treated the whole person. They understood that the body and the mind are inseparable. It was this holistic vision that allowed them to perform medical miracles in an age we often mistakenly view as dark or primitive. Today, so many people are looking for a quick fix. They scour the internet for secret, ancient tonics, hoping to find a miracle cure that lets them indulge in junk food without consequence. But the legacy of Avicenna shatters this dangerous illusion. There is no magic herb. Even the greatest physician of all time couldn't heal someone who wasn't willing to put in the work. The real secret of ancient medicine wasn't a potion. It was discipline. Medicinal plants, whether fenugreek or pomegranate, only worked when paired with a strict diet. If someone promises to cure a condition like diabetes in a single week with a miracle root, don't believe them. Remember the rigorous principles of Ibn Sina. He required his patients to overhaul their entire lives, from their sleep patterns to everything they drank. Only this holistic daily commitment produced real results. Ancient medicine isn't magic. It's a profound understanding of the laws of nature and a deep respect for the human body. If you are unwell, by all means, lean on the achievements of modern science. No, never lose sight of ancestral wisdom, clean eating, a calm mind, and physical movement. These are the 3 pillars of true health, and they always have been. We often look down on our ancestors, feeling as though we have all the answers while they knew next to nothing. But when you dive into the works of a genius like Avicenna, that perspective shifts to one of profound respect. Working alone by the light of an oil lamp, this man described a condition that has since become a global epidemic. He developed a system of healing that truly helped people survive. His canon of medicine was translated into dozens of languages and was studied for centuries in the finest universities across Europe. Even today, with all our modern pharmaceutical breakthroughs, scientists are still finding valuable insights in his writings. They are researching the herbs he documented and confirming his theories on the link between stress and blood sugar. Ibn Sina left us a monumental legacy. He proved that a deep observation of nature, combined with logic, can work wonders. His approach teaches us to listen to our bodies and never ignore the early warning signs. Most importantly, he reminds us to take ownership of our own health. After all, a doctor can provide a prescription, but it is up to the patient to take the medicine and make the choice to live a healthier life. The story of treating honey urine is but a single chapter in the vast chronicles of ancient medicine. How many more secrets lie hidden within those weathered manuscripts? How many forgotten remedies are waiting to be rediscovered, ready once again to heal the world? We are only just beginning to reclaim this ancient wisdom, but it's vital to approach these 1,000-year-old insights with common sense. Never discontinue any medication prescribed by your doctor. While fenugreek and lupin are wonderful supplements, they can never replace life-saving insulin. Avicenna's core philosophy, however, remains accessible to everyone. Stick to a simple diet, keep stress at bay, move your body every day, and sleep in a cool, fresh room. These simple truths cost nothing, yet they are powerful enough to shield you from many ailments. Ibn Sina famously said that a physician must have the eyes of a falcon, the hands of a maiden, the wisdom of a serpent, and the heart of a lion. When we look at his approach to such a complex disease, it's clear that he was that very physician, a healer who lived 1,000 years ahead of his time. It's been an incredible journey through history today. We've gone from ancient methods like tasting urine and observing ant hills to surprisingly accurate advice on diet and herbal medicine. It's clear now that diabetes is anything but a modern problem. It's not that doctors were hiding the truth. It's more that we simply forgot the incredible wisdom of the past. Avicenna proved that you don't need modern labs or syringes to stop the body from breaking down. His secret wasn't a magic pill. It was a complete lifestyle overhaul. Diet, physical activity, mental well-being, and natural herbs. Modern science now confirms what this powerful ancient system knew all along. It's a real wake-up call for anyone looking for a quick fix. If this video changed how you look at the history of medicine, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our upcoming deep dives into health secrets and the legendary physicians of the past. And most importantly, we want to hear from you. Which of Avicenna's methods surprised you the most? Would you try drinking barley water or brewing some fenugreek tea? Let us know in the comments below. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you in the next video.